Shit moms won't say.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shit Moms Won't Say. My guest tonight has dedicated her life to activism, feminism, serving the underserved. Most recently, she has started a foundation that is supplying bras and feminine hygiene products to homeless women and vulnerable women and people who need it most. Yes, you can say I'm a little bit excited to have her here because it is very rare that you find people that dedicate their life's work to such beautiful, beautiful things. The CEO of I Support the Girls, president of Accessibility Partners, Miss Dana Marlowe, mom of two. Welcome to my show.
Thanks so much for having me, Jess. I'm really excited to chat.
Oh, sure. And, I want to call you out because this is a super casual show, so I love this about you. Dana and I got on camera and she's like, I have to pee. I have to put my makeup on. You got it. She's like, I've been back to back to back all morning. And I was like, I feel you, girl. Go to town. Go make yourself look pretty. Nobody wants to watch this show back. And I've done it. I've watched my own show back and been like, come on, you had all the time in the world to prep for this. Look like a human, for Christ's sake. So I get you. You look beautiful and I'm happy to have you here. So thank you very, very much.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm excited to chat.
So let's jump right into the Big Mom 3. And I know that you were like, I haven't had time to read them. So let's see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well.
At this point, I love questions that I'm not usually asked. I'm like, throw them at me. Let's do it.
Let's do the damn thing. So first question of the Big Mom 3. Did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
No.
Okay. So growing, so neither did I. And I'm always very impressed on either side of this question, right? Because I think if you didn't know, I am always curious, what were you like as a kid? And if you did know, I'm also curious, what were you like as a kid? So when did you decide yep, it's for me?
I guess I was around 30.
Me too. Yeah.
Right. So, I had a lot of friends with kids. I like kids. I'm not somebody who could probably professionally work with children on a regular basis, but I like kids. No, I was also the kind of person I wasn't ready to get married for a long period of time. I needed to really take time to figure out who I was and am as a person in this world, right? Because our lives are so short that I wanted to be able to have that. Some might call it selfish, some might call it introspective, some might call it just your own individualized time to see who you are as a person. And so, I wasn't ready to get married. My husband and I dated for I think 8 years before we got married. I just wasn't ready. I was just happy, things were good. But in the same way that all of a sudden one morning I woke up and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get married. I think I got this. I know who I am. I can commit to being in a long-term partnership commitment, the same way we already were, but making it a little bit more legal. Official.
Yeah.
The same thing for me. I wasn't ready for kids. I love, there's an old quote, and I remember learning it. I want to say it's Joseph Hardy, but I'm not entirely certain. And it's somebody who said I don't love work, but I like what's in work, the chance to find oneself. And I needed that for myself. And so I wasn't thinking kids right away. I worked really hard for myself. Education was important for me. And everybody, it's very unique for everybody's own path. But for me, that was important. And I wanted to be able to focus on that and then take all of those years of learning and smushing and smashing stuff in my head and applying it. And what does that look like when you actually put it out there in the world in some kind of formation? And so kids weren't top of mind. They weren't not on my radar. They weren't a priority at that time. And as I got older, I saw more of my kids and more of my friends having children in their early 30s. And I'm like, okay, I see. I'm watching how a lot of my friends are full-time working parents and how they balance that with children and what that looks like for them. And I got to the point where I'm like, all righty, world, I can do this. I
Yeah,
think
you're
I can raise
ready.
another human. And so I came to that conclusion, I guess, early 30s. I guess it was around 30. I wasn't ready yet, but that I was ready to have the conversation of what that would look like in my life then.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And you have 2 boys.
I have 2 boys, yeah. They're 12
And
and 9.
remind me of the ages.
They're 12 and 9.
12 and 9. Okay, so young-ish. And I think you bring up a really good point. It's something we've talked about on here a lot, and it's the idea of not losing yourself in motherhood. And I think a really good way to do that is to know who you are going in. So, I totally get that. So good answer. See, you already did well on the first question, and it was like a yes or no, and you were able to even go above and beyond. So we're off to a good start. So here's a fun question. So I'm very curious. Second question of the Big Mom 3. What is the shittiest or most backhanded piece of advice you've ever gotten from another mother or parent?
Probably the concept that you can't do it all. Because I actually think, I'm not here to say that you can do it all, but you can't do it all well at the same exact moment, at the same exact hour. But you can juggle it enough that you can do a lot. And so there were a lot of people at the beginning when I launched the nonprofit who were like, okay, you're done with the project. You're ready to like refocus on back to your full-time day job and yourself and your parenting, and your family. You're not taking on this other job too. And to that, I'm like, okay, I'm a few years in, so fuck you all, because I'm doing it.
That's right. And you're doing it damn well too. So fuck them, right? But yeah, that's a great point. And like the things that I've heard from people's mouths, like the answers to that question of like, just wait, you'll see how hard it gets. Like women are horrible to each other. So it's really nice to talk to somebody whose like whole mission in life is to support women. That's very cool, and support the underserved. So bravo. Okay, last question of the Big Mom 3. Another curveball. I think you'll be okay. Yeah, let's do it. What is a skill or superpower you had before becoming a mom that you feel has really helped you as a mom?
Being creative. I think being creative in life has helped me in so many different ways, and certainly in my parenting.
I love it. Awesome.
So that was,
okay.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Check. Nailed Big Mom 3. So let's shift gears a little bit here. So
because I'm really not patient. So for those, for your guests who said, "Oh, I'm patient," yeah, no, I didn't get the patient gene. I can be patient when I have to because I can play that game in the world. But I don't know too many entrepreneurs and go-getters and change makers who would actively say, "I'm very patient."
No, I don't possess that quality either. And I think you're from New York also originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're a Jew from New York like me.
Hi.
Yeah. So kindred spirits there. The patience gene is not one that I inherited either. And I think you're right. The people that sort of look to move the world along, there's no time to wait. So you have to make it up with something.
You just have to, you have to forge a path and carve it out and kind of surge ahead. So patience wouldn't be on there, but creativity, I would say, it helps me all the time with my profession, my job, my social media for what we do as a nonprofit, and then with the kids, right? And it wasn't just Play-Doh and watercolor paints creativity. It was, oh my God, how am I going to occupy 4 hours with these little ones? Like, what can we do? And I'm not saying like we made puppet shows and out of sock puppets every single time, but I think in general, the creativity certainly has helped out tremendously.
Awesome. So let's talk about I Support the Girls a bit, because I want to hear also about accessibility partners and just sort of the lay of the land of what you have going on. But I have a more pointed question towards I Support the Girls, and it's because you have 2 boys, and I first and foremost want to hear, sort of your vision of it. But part two of that is having two boys. Are you raising like two little feminist men? Like, how do you support that model at home? And what made this become so important to you, other than it being incredibly important?
So you asked a couple questions. I didn't write them down. I can stop and write them down, or you can just kind of keep pinging them at me.
Just keep pinging them at you. You just okay. Flow through what it is. You just talk about I support the girls, and I'll fill in the gaps from there.
Okay, that works. So I didn't mean to start a global NGO. So I think that that's probably a really good place to start.
By the way, I think that's going to be the only soundbite that I post from your interview, which is, I didn't mean to start a global NGO. I've never had another human being say that to me in my life. And I love that. So
good.
Good so for you just starting it by chance.
Well, right. So the other way that I sometimes say that is I accidentally started a global NGO.
I like that even better.
In case you want that one, because I didn't mean to. And I think that's important. That's important that people keep an open mind. And there's a lot of folks out there, entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, visionaries who are like, okay, what's the next big idea? What's the next big thing? And sometimes they're able to identify it and run with it. But other times, if you just kind of keep your eyes and ears and brain open to what is the need in the world and what could you do to fix that, which is basic entrepreneurial, basic business 101, nothing rocket science there. I think that's where the magic happens, right? And that does require patience for people who want to surge ahead, to be able to say, I'm supposed to just wait to see something cruise by and like catch it. So after having the two kids, and they're amazing, I had gained a lot of weight. And I think it's really important, as I share the next couple details, is this is not a weight loss success story in the typical success story kinds of ways. And because you never know who's watching this and when, and I just like to preface it with that.
Sure.
So often I'm invited to go pre-pandemic, speak on a stage or keynote an event. And I'm in this room and I'll tell people, so after I had my kids, I had gained a lot of weight and I really didn't lose it. And finally, after this amazing, like, come to Jesus moment with two of my best friends drinking wine on the beach, and they're like, Dana, we know you love your job. We know you're working hard. We know you have these amazing kids and a great family and you're doing well. You got to revisit your weight and your health. I think they, right. And even though my mom had kindly said stuff and my aunts had nicely said stuff, when my two close friends were like, holy crap, Dana, get down to business. Let's start losing weight. I'm like, oh my God, oh crap, it's real. So I took it really seriously. I was like, you know what? This is summer of 2014. I need to eat better and exercise right and drink more water. You think it's water. So right. My favorite meme that I recently saw was, when you're on your conference calls, you can fill your glass with anything. Just casually blow on it so people will think it's tea that's too hot before you take a sip.
That's right. I saw that.
You see that one?
I've seen that. Like, it's really good.
Oh, these people are genius.
They're so smart. I've missed it the entire pandemic, and
this whole pandemic, I could be like
the whole time. Yeah. Oh. Ooh, no one even knows that I'm trashed at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Totally. So, I decided I had to work out real hard, like exercise better or at all. And over the course of a year, I had lost 35 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And this is the part where I say, this is not, sometimes people start clapping and cheering, and I think it's really important that people not cheer for weight loss success, especially where they don't know where the story is going.
And cheer for health, right? Cheer for
health, right?
Cheer for pounds.
So I lost 35 pounds and I needed new clothing. And I'm not somebody who is known for clothing. Wait a second. Let's see if I can wait for it.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So I'm known for my Crocs. I love my Crocs. I have an excessive quantity. I don't want to say how many because then it's a little Zsa Zsa Gabor of plastic footwear. So like, I don't want to tell you how many pair of Crocs I own, but these are my second winter glittery golden Crocs.
Oh no.
Okay. We're not here about the Crocs or the Ruth Bader Ginsburg socks, which I don't know if
you can you see my RBG bobblehead right behind me? She's on my bookshelf.
Oh, I see her below the heart. I do. Okay, so I match your bobblehead with my RBG socks, and my jeans are ripped. Okay, so in case anybody missed the ripped jeans.
I love it.
Okay. So that being said, I just showed you that and the thing is, you could be like, oh, she's in her house. Of course, she's in socks and Crocs. I've been out already. This is my normal du jour. I go to unless it's a professional work meeting, I show up on stages and I might be in black tie attire and I wear my Crocs. I rock the Crocs, to each their own.
Nothing wrong with that.
So I'm not somebody who does clothing and or fashion or cares, I guess is probably a better way to put that.
Works for you.
And I needed new clothing, and my husband had said, Dana, you really need to go out. You need to get some new clothing that fits you after you've lost these 35 pounds. But you know what? You need some bras. They're not your old bras are not supporting you the way that they're intended to. And I am larger chested and do prefer to wear a bra usually when going out into the world for support.
Sure.
And I went to my local mall and I went into the store called Soma, and they sell bras and underwear and pajamas and stuff, because I knew I could get fitted. Because I lost all this weight, I needed to get fitted. So as I was getting fitted, I asked the sales associate, hey, what can I do with my perfectly good old bras? And you're half naked in a tiny dressing room with a perfectly nice stranger. For anyone who's never gotten fitted before, that's kind of the drill. And she said 4 words to me that day that have totally changed the course of my life. Total changer, total change realization. And she said, homeless women need bras. And I'm there half naked in a tiny dressing room with a stranger.
Can I applaud for that? How about I applaud for that, right? That's when people, by the way, in Dana's keynotes, that's when you should applaud.
Right.
That's the moment of impact. That's the big one.
So I took that one, right? So because P.S. I've gained the weight back. So then that also makes me feel real shitty when people are like, way to go with that weight loss. And I was like, I've gained it back, so hold your applause, right? So then I make them feel shitty, and I don't want to do that either, because I appreciate them listening to the story and being there and their support of the organization. But from there, I got my new bras. I went home and realized that I had 16 perfectly good bras that I was going to rewash, found a nonprofit, a homeless shelter in Washington, D.C., near where I live. And I called them up and said, hey, I have these perfectly good 16 bras. They're basically this size. I'll clean them all again. Do you want them? And he said, yes. How soon can you bring them here?
Wow. And
I thought, oh, whoa, this is a legit need. Here I am, and I'm donating food to food pantries and kids' winter coats and scarves and hats and gloves. And here's a need I didn't know about. So I said, look, I don't know what I don't know, to this guy on the phone. I said, what else do y'all need? And he said, well, if you're willing to bring the bras, would you bring some maxi pads and tampons? Because our women never have any menstrual products. And this was a hot July DC day in 2015, just for frame of reference. And so I thought, oh my God, it was the first time in my life that I had ever thought what it must be like for someone to be living on the streets or in a very transient lifestyle and not have access to the menstrual hygiene products that they need for a full week, roughly. Could be a few days less, could be a few days more. Month after month after month after month. And I thought, well, if I'm going to donate some bras, I can just as easily go to Costco and pick up some large packages of pads and tampons and put them in with my donation. But another powerful thing happened, and that was the power of friends that you trust resonating with you or echoing that she didn't know this need either. So I wound up the very next day taking a walk with a close friend of mine who I really, really admire and recounting the story, just as friends do. Again, pre-corona, 2015, there were no masks, there was no pandemic. And I said, I didn't know this. She said, Dana, I didn't know that too. She said, I had, she's had 3 kids. She's a mom. She's like, my body has changed shape and my breasts have changed shape so many times. She said, I think I have, it turns out 33 bras. Can I give them to you with your 16? Suddenly I'm up to about 50 bras. And she said, oh, and I'll pick up when I go shopping to the pharmacy, I'll pick up some pads and tampons if they have a buy one, get one free. So I put it out on my Facebook page, and I'm just a mom on Facebook. Like, I share stupid memes. I share interesting articles that I find relevant. But I put it out there and I said, I learned about this need. I vetted the need. I'm going to be donating in 2 weeks. Here's an article that I found because I'm totally nerdy. So I wanted to share a little bit data point and research. And I said, and a friend of mine echoed that I wasn't alone because I thought it was just me for a full day. I wasn't going to share it. But once my friend Alana said she didn't know and I trusted her, I thought, well, if I didn't know and Alana didn't know, maybe other people, particularly moms, don't know this because I think moms are so powerful and the mom network is so powerful. So we put it out on some Facebook groups and mom listservs, and people shared it in emails. And that I realized that Dana's bra project didn't have enough punch to it.
Oh, pizzazz to it.
It doesn't have pizzazz. It doesn't have that cachet. And I was like,
sparkle.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm about the sparkle. I'm about the tongue-in-cheek nature. And I'm like, I need something better. I need to support the girls. And I'm wearing here, you can kind of, it's probably backwards, but it literally says,
we see it. Yeah.
Yeah. You get it. This one might be easier. So it says support the girls because of the double entendre of support the girls and supporting women and girls.
It's great.
So I put a Facebook page together, totally rudimentary because I couldn't keep track of all of the interested comments that people wanted to donate. And the very first donation with my 16 bras, I kept having to push the deadline back. So in project management terms, it was really bad scope creep, really bad. I kept having to delay it. Yeah. And I finally wound up donating because so many people were doing collections and drives at their book clubs, their local school, the yoga studio, the coffee shop, all these places that were doing drives for Office of Menstrual Hygiene products and bras and new underwear. We donated over 8,100 products the first time.
Wow.
And I thought, okay.
This is the thing. Yeah.
Wow. Right. Because, and I could have at that point, washed my hands and been like, all right, that was a nice little 3-month project. I'm done. But what happened was my local newspaper is the Washington Post, which is a fairly well-read
that old thing
newspaper.
Yeah.
And they asked to do a story on this, and it goes more in detail. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but ultimately I said, no, you can't interview me at my house, but I will be happy to meet with you at the shelter when I deliver the 8,100 products. And then maybe you can talk to some of the women who will be receiving these products and hear firsthand why this is such a need, because that would be better than talking to me. So we did that. And the article came out, and it must have been I don't know, maybe it was a slow news weekend because it was in the Sunday paper and everyone read it, it felt like. And my inbox was full. This was the first time I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know how people who do this all the time, I couldn't use my phone because people were DMing me on my phone, on my Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, the emails. And I was like, I'm getting hundreds and hundreds of messages every minute to 2 minutes. You couldn't use it. It was just bing, 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 bing. And I'm like, this isn't working. I need a plan. And I'm a planner. Let's figure this out. So with that, again, support the girls, then got a website. And I realized that this was a supply and demand issue. And we just had to kind of bridge the high supply with the high demand and come up with what was that path. And from there, I work with folks who were so much smarter than me, brought everybody together and operationalized it and created the actual nonprofit a couple weeks later so that folks could donate, because we were also receiving hundreds of emails and DMs saying, I need products. How do I get products? I work for a homeless shelter. I work for a domestic violence shelter. So fast forward, I guess 5.5 years, We have donated over 12.5 million products.
Wow.
Right? Which is a lot of products for my 16 bras. And so 12.5 million products to over 2,400 vetted social service agencies. That could be anything from domestic violence shelters, organizations helping victims of sex trafficking, of human trafficking, refugee agencies, asylee agencies, foster care organizations, correctional facilities, low-income public schools, First Nation reservations. It covers such a huge gamut. And we have 58 affiliates. So I support the Girls Chicago, I support the Girls Dallas, I support the Girls Australia, I support the Girls Pakistan. Doing this locally, empowering women to empower other women, collecting locally and donating locally in their communities.
That's incredible. I'm totally speechless and I don't know how to shut the fuck up. So that's a big deal, right? Incredible. Bravo. What an amazing thing. And in terms of like education, where I learned that was an issue from? You. I had no idea about it. So, I mean, the work that you're doing is going the reach is so wide. And after we stop filming, I'm letting everybody know right now, Dana and I will be having a conversation about how Shit Moms Won't Say can get involved and help, because we have a platform, we have reach. How do we get involved? It's all moms, right? So moms who are watching this show right now, stay tuned. We will have some involvement in it because we all have ill-fitting bras, including me right now. So the girls could use a little extra support. Dana, you can have the bra right off my body. So we'll
Please
talk.
Don't. It's happened twice at events and it makes me wildly uncomfortable. And people are like, here you go. I'm like,
no, I'm such a germaphobe. Are you kidding? In the middle of COVID, could you imagine if I whipped off my bra and I was like, here you go, Dana. And
it happens. It happens. You want some wild ratings for your podcast or for your, take the bra off as you're talking to me and dangle. And that will be people like, oh my gosh, she took it off and she gave it to her.
Listen, as much as I love followers and I love good ratings, I will wash my bra and then donate it because that's what you should do. But we'll get back to that. So,
yes.
And what an amazing answer. What an amazing story. So part 2 of that question, you've hit on literally every single thing I
is bringing it to my boys, right?
Bringing it to your boys. Yeah. Great. Let's talk about your boys for a second.
So because this has been going on for 5.5 years, they have grown up with it in my house. And so it originally started with, I was receiving the products and doing collections and drives, and people were mailing them to my PO box and bringing them back to my home. And I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. My home is amazing, and we're very privileged to have our home that we have. But the products, to have maxi pad mountains and like bras overtaking the guest bedroom that you could not even like open the door because like literally an avalanche of bras were coming out, and this happened so many times, and have like the kids were like stacking the tampon boxes like tampon towers, in my house.
You never had to buy toys, so that's good.
Yeah, they just kind of played with the stuff. So, but they helped out a lot, and they still help out a tremendous amount. So for them, this is all they've known. Well, my older one remembers not, but he was like, I think they were roughly 7 and 4 when I started this. Yeah. So the little one only really remembers it. And it was like taking over the basement and the minivan. There were many times where they'd have to be sitting there and they're literally like smashed up against like a bag full of 100 bras, and the other one's holding up like, 7,500 maxi pads, and they're sitting like on the way to like a play date. Because I had to do like a drop off later, that day or, something like that. And so they're used to it. I did talk to them, and I still continue to talk to them about periods and in a very like age appropriate way. So they both know about it. And I'll tell you, the 12-year-old recently had like their health class where they talk about like sex ed in school. And it's a series over the course of a year kind of classes. It's not like just like a 1 or 2 session class. And so a couple weeks ago, or I don't know when this was, at this point, it was maybe a couple months ago. They had they spent the day talking about like periods and menstruation, and the boys and girls are not separated. They're all together. And my son's name is Micah. Micah came home and goes, Mom, I did so well in that class today. He said there were so many questions about periods and I got them all right. Yes. I kept raising my hand until she said, would you like to come up and talk a little bit more? And she said, and I knew the difference between maxi pads and liners and tampons, and she showed us all, and I knew them all. And then I talked about I support the girls in class, and she said I could have these, a handful of these samples to bring in home and donate. So here they are. So I think sometimes change happens really slowly about breaking menstrual taboos and stigmas. Yeah. And sometimes change happens quickly. So an example I think of like a quick change is when a state like New York or Illinois removes the tampon tax a few years ago. So there's no longer a tax on menstrual hygiene products for people purchasing them, or they make maxi pads and tampons available in public places like libraries, public schools, correctional facilities, that kind of thing. So that's a fast way to have major impact across a whole state that helps, millions of people in quickly by, just by like signing a bill. Slow ways are me talking to one person, my child, about periods. Medium ways to break a menstrual taboo or a menstrual stigma is my 12-year-old spoke out in his class of 20 some odd students, normalizing for a boy to talk about periods. Amazing. Whose teacher supported him in answering those questions, and nobody made fun, nobody was embarrassed. It was, he has content knowledge in this area, the same way that like some kids speak out about history or a scientific topic. And so that means that for those 20 some odd kids, they all realized, oh, well, if he's speaking out about this is normal.
It's amazing.
So it's slow. They help me out tremendously. So does my husband in volunteering all the time. And so for that, I'm so grateful.
That's incredible. And even just like the way that it sounds like sex education has changed, like since I'm in school, so I'm 35. And I remember we were, separated boys and girls. It was a couple of days worth of sex ed. And like, we learned about periods and the boys didn't.
Right.
And like we were made to feel embarrassed. Like I remember when you got your period when you were a kid, you're like, but don't tell anybody, God forbid you got it earlier than everyone else. Like, ooh. So
right. Well, and I mean, so much usually I have on my desk. Yeah. Like they're always all over the place here. Like I'm always, or the fact that like, this is so common, right? Like that, like, somebody might have a tampon up their sleeve, or like you're passing it to someone and you're like, here you go. Right.
And you're right. Like, this trick,
Totally. So I think that, while I don't endorse like waving it around like a keychain lanyard when you're on your way to the bathroom, I don't think there's anything normal. If the bathroom can't even put them out in like a little holder or something like that, then shame on that bathroom. But like, there's nothing wrong with, hey, do you need a tampon? Yeah, here you go. Hey, do you need a pencil? Sure, here you go.
I agree. Well, listen, you're probably the best friend to have because you're the person that you're like, does anybody have a tampon? You're like,
no, it's so bad, Jess. Oh my gosh. I am one of the most organized type A / disorganized chill people you'll ever meet. And so I can't tell you how many times I've been somewhere and not had any menstrual products, gotten my period and been like, holy crap, I have to go ask somebody. I can't believe this. This is so weird. And I'll be like, hey, do you have a tampon? Like,
they just think you're kidding. So like, there's this whole like embarrassment that's a societal embarrassment about.
No, this is like, here's this woman who's distributed millions and tens of millions of menstrual products, goes on stages all the time talking about period poverty and menstrual equity and why we need to raise awareness. And then I'm like, I don't have a tampon for myself.
You borrow one? Yeah. Listen, I would never be like, I don't want to ever shame a woman, but you should feel embarrassed about that.
it is what it is. And then people are like, they, whatever. I mean, look, I always usually have them in a lot of my demonstrations or talks. I usually have a box. I start a lot of my speeches holding a couple colorful bras and some pads and tampons up in the air, like to capture everyone's attention. And usually after any of those kinds of speeches or engagements, without fail, there'll be anywhere from like 3 to 6 people that come up to me after, and they'll say, oh my gosh, I just got my period. I don't have any products. Can I have some? And and I just distribute them out there. I know they're going to need them.
Super funny.
Yeah, but I give them out so often that I forget to refill my own stash.
Oh my gosh. I love it. All right. Well, so one final question, and we'll start to wrap it up. And it's really sort of about like, what's next for you? So, I mean, obviously this issue is a pervasive one and not going away. So, I mean, where does I Support the Girls go from here? Do you just keep doing the good work, or is there, sort of phase 2, 3, 4 for you?
I mean, there's a lot of places we could tap into. We just passed our 5th year, which means we're no longer like a startup, which also means our potentials for success and longevity are longer. If you're able to keep your business or your organization afloat for that first 5 years, your potential for future continuity is strong. I don't know exactly where, like I have big picture goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, of course. But there's so much work to be done in the US. There's so much work to be done overseas. We have 58 international affiliates. I want to be able to support them. We run, in addition to our affiliate network, we run 3 other programs. So there's 4 programs total. The disaster relief program is huge, and that's helping victims of hurricanes and wildfires and tornadoes and earthquakes and flooding and whatnot. And then there's also another arm of not just natural disasters, but economic disasters, which is the federal furlough of 2019 in the US and like COVID, which kind of straddles both areas. And then we have our Forces for Change program, which helps really marginalized populations of folks in need, whether it's women undergoing mastectomy, very low income women undergoing mastectomies where we are donating mastectomy bras and breast prosthetics, or different transgender groups where we're donating binders and period underwear, or migrant farmers in Florida who need other specific areas. It's a Forces for Change outlines very specific populations that we serve. And then our brand new program that we launched the end of last year is our DASH kit, which stands for Dignity, Aid, Safety, and Hygiene kits. And those are for recent survivors of domestic violence who've just fled a terrible situation, because most in their go kits don't have pads and tampons, and suddenly they're living on somebody's couch or in a shelter and there's no pads or tampons to be had, and we're mailing individuals in need 3-month supply of various products and new bras and underwear and some toiletries.
Incredible.
Those for this year, next year, I want to be able to really continue to build out those programs. We have talks of a couple other programs in the works, but I'm the kind of person that until it's solidified, I won't share.
I need a signature to talk about something. I totally understand. And when those happen, you'll come back on and we'll talk about them again. But for the meantime, we'll just keep cheering you on all the time. So here are my 2 final questions for you. So what is something, you have 2 boys, kind of on the younger side, what is something you cannot live without as a mom?
My calendar on my phone.
Love it. You're like a scheduler? Me too. If it's not in my phone, I'm not.
I have a full-time job. We didn't talk about accessibility partners, but I have a full-time,
oh my goodness,
an amazing 40, 50 hour week job with accessibility partners. I do another 30, 40 hours a week for I Support the Girls. I have 2, a 9 and 12-year-old. So like kids in school and after school activities and sports and, I have to be somewhat organized.
Well, you're right. We didn't even get to talk about accessibility partners. And I implore everybody to go look at what that is, because it's a whole other arm of like Dana's brain that's just amazing, right? It's really cool. So there you go. Look at that.
My little mesh, my mesh hat. There we go.
Love it. It goes with your Crocs really, really well. So
yes.
Good luck. You look cool. It's a great look.
I'm just thinking of another one. Another question.
Another one. I have one more. That's it. Then we're done. And then we'll.
No. You can keep them coming.
I got one more for you. So, what is something you know now that you wish you knew before becoming a mom?
I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is to say, like, don't take it all so seriously. But I really wasn't taking it so seriously before. So I'm not sure. I think sometimes I take stuff too seriously, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's also easy to like go for some of the cliche type things of like to treasure every moment, that they grow up so quickly. I don't know. I still kind of feel like I'm in the thick of it, right? Like, I mean, I'm not dealing with like diapers and cribs. I mean, my kids can go out and explore the neighborhood on their own for hours, and they can completely handle like everything from they can completely are totally self-sufficient to some degree, obviously. I don't know. What's yours?
I think that I didn't know I'd have so much fun with it. I didn't know parenting could be fun. I always looked at it as like a very mature stage of your life where you're just like, okay, well, I'm a mom now. That's it. And it kind of goes back to what you said earlier. Like, you don't have to lose yourself in motherhood. And I think I had a fear about that for many, many years of like, once I become a mom, I'm not Jess anymore. I'm not like playing my guitar and being an idiot and cursing and, being entrepreneurial and drive. Like, I just thought I would lose myself. And I found a whole other version of myself. So that's, where I would kind of sit with that.
That's a good one. That's good. And what are some of the good ones that your other guests have shared that have stuck with you, that have resonated?
I've heard people, I always like the ones that like really get into the idea of like doing what works for you, because ultimately that's really the message of the show, right? Is like, do what works for you in your timeline. And if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, you're a stay-at-home mom. If you want to run 2 huge companies, run to, whatever works for you, and understanding what that means before going into motherhood. It's really, you can't know. You just can't. So that's been probably my favorite, make sure you really get that.
Right. For sure. Yeah, I think the individualized approach is always the best, because I think you best. So yeah. I think that's always a good one.
Well, I loved your answers, and I loved having you here. So tell me, where can people find you? And like I said, I want to spend 2 minutes with you after this to figure out how we can get involved, but how can people get involved? Where can they find I Support the Girls? Where can they find Accessibility Partners? And where can they find you?
So Accessibility Partners is online. It's a very niche IT group. So unless somebody who's watching this needs their website or mobile application or software app to be audited for accessibility standards, it's probably not applicable from an accessibility consultant.
Is that all like WACG compliance? Is that what you're?
Yeah, so that's WCAG, that's WCAG and Section 508. Gotcha. So that's what our accessibility engineers do, and we have consultants that do exactly that. But it's very niche. Like it's not everyday people get it, and that's fine. And 85% of our employees there are people with disabilities. Just fun fact.
Great fact.
So
yeah.
That's online at accessibilitypartners.com. If you're more interested then on the nonprofit side of the house at I Support the Girls, you can find us online at the letter I Support the girls.org. It's backwards, but hopefully people can still figure that out.
We'll tag it out also so they can
see. Yeah. And so I Support the girls.org is where you could take a look at the FAQs. If somebody wants to go through their bra drawer, oftentimes in the back of your bra drawer are bras you no longer wear. We really also need sports bras. We'll gladly accept any kinds of bras that are gently used, freshly washed. You can mail them to the P.O. box that's on our website at isupportthegirls.org. You can check us out online on, you name it, right? We're Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat. We're there and sharing really interesting content, different content. So like what's on Twitter tends to be more newsworthy, relevant. And what's on Instagram is a little bit more of our cutting edge side. TikTok is a hot mess. I need to figure that out because right now it's being run by me. So yeah, come follow us, come donate products if you want to host a collection or drive amongst your family, your friends, your place of work. Please feel free to reach out, and you can get our email address right off the website at isupportthegirls.org.
Amazing. Well, Dana, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for spending some time with us, and keep watching Shit Moms Won't Say. We'll see you next week.
Shit Moms Won't Say.